Hello and welcome to this session on currency exchange with me, Mr. McIver, here at the London Central and North West Maths Hub. So you're off on your holidays. Hurrah! But wait, you forgot to change your currency. Back to the airport. So here we are back at the airport, and more particularly the currency exchange desk where you can buy and sell currency. But what do all those numbers mean? Let's take a closer look. Here we are. Euro, buy 132.36, sell 0.9786. What does that mean? And don't you remember seeing something very similar at the supermarket the other week? Yeah, there was a sign up there all about buy and sell rates too. Well, which one was the better deal? Let's take a closer look at what buy and sell rates mean when it comes to changing money. So here are the two deals on offer. At the airport, they seem to be buying euros at 132.36 and selling at 0.9786, while at the supermarket they're selling for 108.31 and buying for 1.2808. You could be forgiven for thinking that you'd walk up to the desk in the airport and say, I have £100 here. I want to change this for 132 euros and 36 cents. You might think that, but you'd be wrong. The people behind the desk are offering to pay you £1 for each 1.3236 euros you possess. But you don't have any euros. You've got pounds. What you want to do as a customer with £100 is buy euros. So you want the shop, because that's all a foreign exchange desk, or bureau d'échange as they're sometimes called, is. It's just a shop. They will sell you 0.9786 euros for every pound. So your £100 will get you 97 euros and 86 cents. So if you'd gone to the supermarket beforehand with your £100, you would have been able to use that 1.0831 rate and buy 108 euros 31. So the things you need to remember are these. Exchange rates are just multipliers. Buy and sell rates always relate to one unit in the local currency. So if you are going to a foreign exchange desk in the UK, everything will relate to £1 sterling. Obviously, if you're in Europe, all the prices would relate to €1. If you're in North America, all the prices would relate to $1. And that means that what matters to you when you are leaving the country are the rates at which they are selling the foreign currency. You want the highest sell rate you can find. Too bad you waited until you got to the airport to change your money. You'd have been better off at the supermarket. So here you are, walking sadly away from the bureau d'échange with your 97 euros and 86 cents. And as you go, who should walk up but an American, wanting to exchange $1,000 into pounds sterling. What about changing the other way? Well, in this instance, the American is selling dollars to the exchange bureau. The bureau is therefore buying the dollars for pounds sterling, so you need to look at this buy rate. They will buy $1.5228 for £1. Remember, it's just a multiplier. So to find out how many pounds the American gets, we use this rate. If £1 corresponds to $1.5228, I guess that means you need to divide his $1,000 by 1.5228 to get £658.69. Another thing to remember is, even though exchange rates are multipliers, you do sometimes divide by them. And if you're ever in any doubt about which of the numbers to use, the general rule of thumb is choose the one that gives you the low answer. The exchange bureaus are there to make a profit. But there are other ways of getting foreign currency apart from going to an exchange bureau at an airport or on a high street. Many people nowadays simply go abroad with their credit or debit cards and take the money out a hole in the wall directly from their bank. But their bank will charge a commission for exchanging the money into euros or dollars or whatever. So let's look at a couple of rates that I found online recently. Bank A charges a 2% commission plus a £1 transaction fee on all cash withdrawals abroad. And Bank B simply charges 2.75% commission. Both of them are using today's exchange rate, which at the time of recording is £1 to 1.135070 euros. Let's suppose you walk up to the ATM somewhere in Europe and go to withdraw 50 euros. Which of these banks is going to give you the better deal? For Bank A, we first of all convert the currency, so we do that by dividing. I'm going to divide my 50 by 1.135070 and find that my bank is charging me £44.05 for my 50 euros, but they're going to add a 2% commission to that. Well, to add a 2% commission, I simply multiply by 1.02. Oh, and they also add on a £1 transaction fee. So Bank A will charge me £45.93 to take out my 50 euros. Bank B, on the other hand, well, it's exactly the same exchange rate, so they charge me the same for the currency, but their commission is slightly higher. So I have to multiply by 1.0275, giving me a total of £45.26. But this bank does not charge any fees. So, in fact, Bank B is slightly cheaper to use. Okay, so we've established that Bank B offers the better deal. Here we are. Just one question remains. Is it better to pay the commission before you change the currency or after? Let's try it both ways and see what the difference is. If you pay the commission after changing the money into euros, which is exactly what we did in the initial example, we first convert the currency by dividing by the exchange rate and then add the commission by multiplying. And we get this answer, 45.26, as shown above. Now, if we do it the other way round and pay the commission before converting, the first thing we do is multiply 50 euros by 1.0275 and then divide that total by 1.135070, the exchange rate. Oh, look, it's exactly the same. Well, that isn't very surprising when you look at the calculations we are doing. In both cases, we are dividing by this figure here and multiplying by the commission rate. The only thing that changes is whether we do the multiplication first or the division first. It's the same sum, so it doesn't matter whether you calculate the commission before or after, you get the same figure. So working with commission rates on currency exchanges is very straightforward. One final question. Why pay commission at all? Especially when those exchange bureaus on the high street have signs like this outside. 0% commission. Surely that's a much better deal than any commission, however small it might appear. That's where you have to remember one very simple fact. A currency exchange bureau is a shop, and shops need to make a profit. Technically, an exchange bureau such as this one is not charging you a commission. They are, however, charging you a fee, which is priced into the difference between the sell rate and the buy rate shown on this board. So let's work out what the equivalent commission rate is for their euro exchange rates. Imagine yourself walking up to the bureau and saying, I want you to turn this £100 into euros. Well, the person behind the counter duly obliges and multiplies 100 by the sell rate of 1.12 and hands you 112 euros. You then imagine handing that money straight back and saying, OK, back to sterling, please. Which, with a rather surprised look on their face, the person at the counter duly does, this time taking your 112 euros and dividing by their buy rate of 1.2195. And you end up with £91.84. Roughly speaking, you've been charged £8 for the two transactions. So, if you halve that, you get about £4 each time. You started with £100, it looks like a commission rate of about 4%. Now that might be good enough for you. It's clearly a bit more than the bank's offering, so you're better off going via the bank. But here's how you work out the equivalent commission rate exactly. What you do is you look at that £91.84 and notice that that corresponds to a multiplier of 0.9184 for the two transactions. So that's your multiplier after commission has been deducted on two currency transactions. Now let's assume that the commission rate is the same for each of the two transactions. So you can call the multiplier including commission on one transaction C and say C squared has to be 0.9184. If I square root that, I get the multiplier for one transaction, and that comes out as 0.9583. And if I subtract that figure from 1 and convert to a percentage, I find the equivalent commission rate is in fact 4.17%. So what you need to take away from this session is, first, exchanging currencies costs money. The costs can either be described by differing buy and sell rates. We call that pricing in the fee to the buy and sell rates. Or you can simply be offered an exchange rate with a commission added on. And here's a typical phrase I just took off a bank website the day I recorded this video. In order to compare the two types of currency exchange, the simplest thing to do is to convert the buy and sell rates into a percentage, which is an effective commission rate or equivalent commission rate, and you do that by starting off with £100, multiplying by the sell rate, dividing by the buy rate, getting a multiplier for the two transactions, and then square rooting to get the multiplier for one, which you can then turn into an equivalent commission rate quite easily. That's it for this session. Have a go at the problems you've been set.